I just about was congratulating myself for remembering to turn my mic on and my camera on, and then I realized that I did not have my microphone turned on. Anyway, very little news. Welcome to the show. Good morning, Grace. No clue what's going on with the Thorpes. They're pretty much off the radar. Daisy broke down. The debate with Glenn Lawrence was delayed, which I'm sure Glenn Lawrence was like unbelievably relieved because during the debate prep he was doing with Grid 1, he was looking pretty rough. I mean, I think Ben would have. I think Glenn would have had a hard time in that debate based on what I saw from the debate prep. But that's gone. We haven't heard not a lot in the Discord. OPC Don has kind of taken over as the main voice in the Discord. He wants to, I don't know, hashtag do something beautiful for God or something like that. So I don't know. So it's pretty slender content right now in Thorpeville. Ruby did do a stream yesterday, her Celebrity Sundays. I think Ava did a stream recently. There's been a lot of drama around the Furby showing up in chats. I think Ruby had demodded the Furby, but then Ava went on like a big pro Furby thing on her stream recently. So anyway, that's what's happening there. But let's get into why we're here. 1988, which I wasn't gonna watch this quickly, but I started thinking about it after we watched the Morton Downey, and I was like, you know what? I want to see that. I want to do that Geraldo Rivera episode like sooner rather than later. So I figured I'd go ahead and do it. It's a short episode, but this has the complete episode supposedly, and then I've got a quick interview from a few years later. But if you haven't seen this, it's like one of the most iconic moments in television history. This is 1988, so if you remember when we were watching Morton Downey, this is right in the like right in the heat of like daytime and shock TV starting to rise. Remember on Ava Street? Yeah, I saw Dan like really went off, and then now that you mentioned it, I do remember XP was being pretty like pretty had pretty good like he was able to communicate his feelings very well without being like, you know, insulting or whatever. But I didn't get to see all of Dan's comments though. But anyway, Geraldo had like kind of a long history with what having like white supremacists were some of the most popular guests on these shows because they always caused chaos and good for ratings. So this is an instance though where kind of things went a little bit out of control. And like I said, I think it's one of the most iconic TV moments. I mean, when I was only a kid when it happened, but I remember seeing the clip of the chair flying and stuff. So, you know me though, I like to have all the content. I like to like watch this shit with all the context. So, let's get into it. 1988, Geraldo Rivera.
Jonesville Township boy meets his hero, and we'll see how nuclear power is keeping a man alive. Join us following Donahue.
As many of you already know, and as all the rest can plainly see.
Oh, and I do want to apologize if you watched my the clip that I took of Grace doing the Van Girl stuff. I didn't realize it, but JoJo Siwa did a copyright claim on it, and I didn't realize it. And when I went and looked at it, it had been auto-monetized, and like they put a million ads on it. Like there were a million ads on it. So I just went in and I couldn't demonetize it, so I ended up sending an email to YouTube, and I didn't know if they would demonetize it or not, but they did. So hopefully if you watch it, you won't have to put up with, I don't know why in the world it would put 50 million ads on it, but it did. So sorry about that. But it's fixed now, as far as I know.
By looking at me right now, our program today on young hate mongers came to an unexpectedly violent conclusion. But because we believe it's important to expose the activities of these racist, anti-Semitic groups and to subject them to our scrutiny and our scorn, we're going to bring you the program in its entirety. Parents, please be advised.
And I wouldn't even mind, wouldn't even be a big deal if it would have just been putting like the pre-roll on there, like big deal, one ad, but like fucking, it was literally like 20 or more ads on a 50-minute video. It was ridiculous.
That because of the violence and some of the language it contains, this program is probably not appropriate for small children. Thank you. Thanks.
So this is 88. You can start to see like what people think of as the 80s isn't actually what the 80s looked like. The 80s was very brown, but we're coming up on the end of the decade. So like now we're starting to see like the 90s stuff, which is actually like just 80s culture moving forward, but like the set looks a lot different here than it did than some of the other shows from just a few years earlier.
Our guests that you'll meet today are truly hate-filled. They are self-described racists, white supremacists, Nazi lovers, and they admit to resorting to violence if they think it's necessary to get their hate-filled...
And I'm sorry for any technical issues. I just tried to find the most complete version of this for us to watch. So if there's audio or video stuff, I apologize. I just thought it would be better to see the whole thing.
...message across. But who are their real victims?
Whoa.
His name is William Stump, and he, his wife, and their little baby were attacked by 5 violent skinheads just a few days ago here in New York City. Let me just say that we tried to bring you this show a few weeks ago, but because their hatred...
I'm gonna have to like watch this.
Since we refuse to be censored by them or by anybody.
I'm gonna have to close my eyes on this.
And because we feel exposure will weaken the following these racists enjoy. Today you will hear from these angry young men. Meet John Metzger of the White Aryan Resistance Youth. He says that whites must learn to keep themselves separate from the evil blacks and Jews. Bob Hike. He's the director of the American
Bob Hike.
Front. Although he's got some hair on his head, he's a skinhead in heart, and he believes that Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were heroes. Michael Palish, of the Skinheads of the National Resistance. He says our country has been invaded by the Hispanics. Raped and deceived by the Jews, and maligned and fornicated on by the blacks.
Fornicated on? What?
These people really believe those perverted statements. We'll find out the meaning behind their message, if there is one. And we'll meet some people who say that our guests are pathological misfits. Truly dangerous young men. Young racists. Are these angry young men merely looking for attention? Or do they represent something much more dangerous? That's our focus on this edition of Geraldo. Thank you. There has been racial hatred and there have been hate mongers since time immemorial. In recent years, they have gotten younger and their acts apparently have become more and more violent. This month marks the 50th anniversary of Kristallnacht. It was the beginning of the Nazis' reign of terror against the Jews in Europe. We bring you this show today to remind us of that past and to bring us up to date on what's happening in the present. They say that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So that's our goal today.
We just got to find a way to get the light inside the body with these guys. It looks like the audio's getting a little bit better. Hopefully it'll smooth out.
You know, skinhead scene was started back in the 60s, you know, and it's really racial oriented. You know, we're white racists and we believe in hard work, we believe in the family, and we believe in fighting for our race, and we'll defend it even to the death.
These young men are the next generation. Heir apparents to the more mature neo-Nazi groups, reputed to be killing, robbing, and committing other acts of violence across this country.
ain't got a hook nose anymore.
Though they are reportedly small and far between, some are so threatening. Former FBI Director William Webster said of one group, they are more dangerous than the KKK, more dangerous than this.
I'm headed to here, no more. Let's have white culture. Let's have white America. Let's have a place for our children to be raised.
For every group that hates, there seems to be an equally menacing group that hates them. And sadly, much of this hate comes forth in the name of the Lord.
America is cursed because we've allowed these Antichrist Jews into our midst.
We are Jews. We couldn't be prouder. And if you can't hear us, we'll shout a little louder.
Who are these people who are so passionate about their hate, so ready to be as violent as they feel necessary to fight against those who would have a different social order?
No, if you're in a situation where the enemy, whether it's the Nazis or people breaking into your
This guy's a marksman and he collects vintage tin signs.
home or whoever it may be who want to harm you,
Mordecai Levy, who you'll soon be meeting in our studio, heads the New York City chapter of the Jewish Defense Organization. It's a spin-off of the older, more extreme Jewish Defense League. Mordecai's group legally trains members in the use of these high-powered weapons, which he says have never had to be fired.
Oh, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Take it all away from us, the whole country. Jew boy judges and bankers and politicians with the nigger police and Orientals.
all these people.
I want to say it's got Tom Berenger in it, maybe. But it's really well made.
Gun shorty.
Yeah, I know it. I don't like it either. Hell, I have to close my eyes every time I pull the trigger.
He has to close his eyes every time he pulls the trigger. Now, that statement comes from a movie, but you had better believe that there are people out there, perhaps right here in our studio today, who freely admit they believe that sentiment. But first meet William and Marianne Stump and their baby. They were brutally attacked just a few days ago by 5 violent skinheads. You'll hear this story in a minute. John Metzger, the director of the White Aryan Resistance Movement, Bob Hike, the director of the American Front, and Michael Palish, the director of the Skinheads of the National Resistance. But first, let me hear from the victims. Bill, how did you get that shiner in your face? How'd you break your rib? I know you have.
Well, the rib broke last night because the hospital didn't find a crack in it. And last night it finally broke. But with the face, it was down in the pair train when I turned my head when he laid one of
Can we get a breakdown stream on this black eye?
the guys with the crew cuts, skinheads, yelled, and 3 more flew up through the path.
What did he yell, Bill?
I don't even know what he was saying. It's just some weird noise he made. 3 came up the stairs. I turned and looked at him as I was picking up the carriage with her. And the guy that I first met, saw us in the train, came up on the side of me and just hit me. He says a bottle. This is what he told the police, that he did hit me with a bottle. But, the impact came from here
It does look kind of funky.
down. And there's some facial bones up here, bro.
How you doing, Anand?
5 of them.
5 of them.
Skinheads. Excuse me a second, John. John, excuse me, John. Marianne, were these guys shouting Nazi slogans? What were they saying? You tell us.
Well, when we first came over to them, they had said something to me, but I wasn't paying attention. And
Marianne Stump.
he had asked them what they said. And next thing they said, don't you believe in the white supremacy? Aren't you German? And then they gave the Heil Hitler sign.
And said, don't you believe in beating on niggers? No offense to some of the people, but that's exactly what he said.
What'd you respond?
Tell him I don't believe in that. And then when he says, aren't you German? Don't you believe in your German race? And I says, I'm German, and I am. And as far as I know,
Bands causing problems even in the 80s.
I don't never heard of this. And then he gave me the Sea House sign, and I told him, you guys are full. You don't even know what you're talking about. And that's when I approached the stairs, and that's when he started ripping off his shirt, laid out a call, 3 came up, and that's when he sucker punched me with a bottle, as far as he says.
So what was he trying to do, Marion? Was he trying to recruit your husband, you, into their movement? What do you think?
Possibly.
But you have no doubt that he was bringing up Nazi slogans.
Right.
Saying, aren't you
That's not exactly what I would call great recruitment techniques.
German?
Yeah.
Don't you believe in hating this group or that group?
Yes.
How'd you react to that?
Well, a lot of times you hear that, constantly hear racial remarks all the time. So it's like after a while you get used to it.
Isn't that a sad statement? A sad commentary. So how do you feel about the guys who not only busted you up pretty good, but also made statements having to do with Nazism and hatred?
Well, I don't consider them as guys. Personally, I consider them as lowlife, really. Because anybody sit there and say they're for America and they're Americans, as far as I remember in school, the first Americans were the American Indian. And America came and was formed by Americans, and Americans were formed from all parts of the world. When everybody united from all different parts of the world, they made this what they call today America. So there wasn't like... So back then, there wasn't no colors
I think there might be some more white supremacists in the audience.
or anything in disgrace of anything. The only color in the beginning, if you want to consider true Americans, is the American Indians. As far as I'm considered, they were the true Americans. We are the Americans.
Tough luck, they lost it. White man came over and came rolling in and took it over. Too bad.
Hold it, Phil. Let me be in charge.
Rhodesia, all white, you know.
Bob Hike,
Kicked out.
right? Bob Hike. You're a skinhead. Your organization is a
Hey, how you doing, Doug?
neo-Nazi group.
No, no.
You believe in clashing and bashing, right? Going out bashing is sort
Attack us all you want. You're not going to get anywhere.
May I
Well, then
say?
speak your mind.
Hold it.
We will.
Bashing is defined in your publication as groups of you going out hunting
In my publication.
other groups.
In my publication.
Well, it's actually
I was attacked by
John Small's
5,000
publication.
people, you know,
Oh,
just
God,
like,
come on,
just
guys.
like the communists that are in this group right now.
How do you justify attacking a white?
Uh-oh, that argument style. This is going to be definitely spicy. Isn't that what you say in your publication? Well, my publication? Is it really my publication? Like, it's our publication.
Man,
I can't
hold it.
He's a
We
communist.
got a long show. Everyone's gonna have their chance.
I don't need to justify it because I did not do it, and none of my
That's right.
people didn't
Yeah,
do
what
it.
do you-
And people with
Hold
political
it.
beliefs such as mine wouldn't have done that.
Stop
We
it.
don't do that kind of thing. We don't walk around the streets just beating on anybody. We don't go up and spew political beliefs of somebody. If they don't agree with us, we don't beat them up. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's not the way to do things. Obviously.
What? Jesus Christ, that ain't the way to do things.
What?
First of all, I like to say I'm a Jewish skinhead, and second of all, you want to bet. And second of all, I like to know why you have only white power up there, and why don't you have non-racist skinheads up there?
Show's not about. Show's about racist. It's good.
What non-racist skinheads? I must not be like up on skinhead culture, but I like that right off the bat we have rival skinheads in the audience. Whoa, look at this. This guy here needs to be up on a stage. Look at this leather glove he's got on or something. This guy like looks like he should have like a condor on his arm or something. He's like some kind of supervillain.
Out of those five guys, right? They're talking about the white supremacy. This is what they're talking to me. One was Jewish, one is Irish. By their names, you can see one was Hellenstein. You know what I'm saying?
They're all a bunch of hypocrites. That's
Right. That's exactly what they are. I mean, anybody sit there, and it wasn't no waiting for no
Oh no. Well, this guy's got two black eyes. Everybody's got black eyes.
train. I mean, you got three guys downstairs by the train, and two standing upstairs.
Of course, this is the only crime that happened in the city, by the way.
That doesn't mean...
Do white people get hurt?
Wait, hold on.
Do white people get hurt?
Let me ask you.
What?
Oh, so it's like a punk rock thing? Okay, I got you.
May I ask that?
According to law enforcement, skinheads recently have been involved in activities. I mentioned bashing. You say you don't condone it. Okay, let's say you don't condone it. What about the desecration of synagogues?
Ha! If anything, they should be paying us not to do it. I personally told my people at Crystal Night that's coming up November 10th not to even go out at all because I don't want to see us get a bad name. Because for one thing, they're going to be out there with all their lights on because they're so scared of us. And for another thing, I don't want any bad rep for any of these groups. We're trying to turn these people into decent people. Matter of fact, all of our people right now...
Do you believe Bob Hike in the
drugs.
desecration of synagogues?
No. It's a waste of good American paint.
So I do. I smoke pot. So what's up with that?
So you're a drug fiend, so that's your problem. We don't.
Recently in California. Excuse me.
Okay, so so that whole row is like the punk rock skinheads then.
Recently in California, a group of skinheads, racist skinheads, slit the throat of a young Hispanic woman. They wanted to make a point and to scare minority people. Do you endorse that activity?
Listen, let's get to the real issues here.
Yes or
Why
no,
are
John?
you curbing? Why are you beating around the bush, Jerry? Look at Jerry King. That was your former name, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. What's going on here? Jerry King? This is like some good drama. Holy shit.
It wasn't, and I really recommend that you don't push me.
Bring back this vibe in talk shows where the host will get insulted and he'll walk up and put a hand on the guy. We'll get this great tension.
Too hard.
Oh, come on, sir. Do a little
Okay. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Just watching these, Doug, all I want to do on stream now is watch these crazy fucking shows. You'd have to really cherry pick with like Geraldo or Jenny Jones or Sally, but like I think all the Morton Downeys are good. There's just so much crazy shit from the 80s.
In the heat of the moment, I realized that it must be awfully confusing to you, the audience, because these guys look like these guys over here and look like the fellows on the stage. Now these skinheads or skullheads or whatever you call them support the three fellows representing the three admittedly racist groups. The front row here consists of, come on, give me a break. Consists of skinhead groups that do not support the racist philosophy of those on the panel. All right. No.
Clap for the drum pushers.
Wait. Here. Wait, hold it. What?
Oh, you're saying they were rich?
Skinheads were white working class. If you are not white working class, you cannot be a skin.
Like, why isn't there something like this? Like, how on whatever you have everybody like in proximity to each other, right? For the most part, I don't think they do a lot of like call in or whatever, unless it's like a special thing in the moment. Like, why doesn't one of these like mid-sized creators? You don't have to build the set and everything, but like, why not do your blood sports like this? Especially if you live in like a big city, I'm sure you could find enough people to at least do it and see if people respond to it. I think an in-person blood sport debates would be amazing.
Skinhead by the definition.
By whose definition?
Like it's kind of fun to think about, like, you know, Ben and Glenn finally having this debate, and like it's interesting, and it has kind of like a pay-per-view feel to it. But like, imagine if they were like gonna meet in, like, they were doing the debate in person. Like, that would be so much crazier.
Just the way it's been since the 60s. There were no black, there's no such thing as a non-white skinhead.
They were rude boys, not
Black skinhead, then I gotta get to the Nazis.
The first skinheads were Jamaican rude boys. This is where the star came from. The star came from mods. You guys are fakers, all right?
Oh,
you're neo-Nazis. Why don't you just go ahead and say you're neo-Nazis, right? You're lying to everybody. You're fake.
Hey, yo.
Define a
You're
neo-Nazi.
not national
Are you?
socialist.
Do you believe?
Do you even know what that means?
Okay. Who wants to speak?
Listen, I'll tell you what we believe in.
Good.
We have a big problem, okay? We're two fronts. We're fighting a civil war between our own people. Racially conscious white people need to preserve their heritage and culture. That's the first problem. Wait a minute.
Wait. Stop.
The second problem is we're going after the United States.
I mean, am I wrong, or if you could find people that had the guts to go in person and do this kind of format, but are there not people who would have this exact debate today and be just as like fervent on either side about it? I feel like the issues, things were kind of like a boiling point back then, and maybe we're like circled back around again to it. I think people are tired of like how I don't want to say sterile, but like how I just think that people would it would be a lot better vibe if more content was like in person. I think that's why I like IRL, because there's always that chance of just something insane happening because you're in the moment. Whereas like on a panel or whatever, if you get upset or you could always shut the camera off or whatever. I don't know. I'm really high.
United States government, full force.
I just want a new version of this show style.
They are number one. They are our number one enemy.
Back
and
up.
we're going after them because they cause us problems.
Wait, back up to the first part.
I want to get that straight. First of all, blacks, you guys don't really fit in.
What?
You're not in our agenda. That's what I'm saying. So don't feel like we're going to hurt you.
We don't want to fight.
We don't care.
That's what we're trying
What do you
to say.
want to do? What do you want to do?
We want to get away from the drug
what do you want to do?
abortion, drug
What do you want to
mixing.
do?
What I'd like to see?
Yeah.
In America?
Yeah.
I'd like to see truth and justice.
Oh, come
and right
on.
now there
Superman,
are
tell me
lies.
what you
You're
want to
pushing
say.
the lies. What are you
What do you want to
talking
see?
about?
What's
You
your
push lies
agenda?
every
What's your
day.
agenda? You want a racially pure country? Is that what you want?
You don't see it at all.
Do you want all the minority?
I mean, I agree, and I think a lot of people wouldn't move to in-person, but I do think, especially if it got like even moderately popular and you could do it, it'd have to be live, I think, to capture that energy, but I think you could probably find enough people to scrape something together.
People to leave the country?
It doesn't matter what country it is, as long as they're racially...
Confront it.
Listen,
Confront
everybody deserves their own homeland, all right? Everybody deserves, every race, I don't care if you're white, black, red, whatever,
Jews are
deserves a
committing genocide
racially...
right now.
Listen, the Jews got Israel, they've got their racially pure state, and they're doing well by that. Whites don't have it, and we need it. We're dying out. By the year 2000, we're not going to be here anymore. We'll be the minority in this country.
I know.
Thank you.
Okay, so did he just say that by the year 2000, there weren't going to be any white people?
And that's you too, and that's all your sons and daughters, so laugh it up. That's your culture and your race
Laugh
going
it
down the
up.
drain. Fine, if that's what you want, fine, but we don't want it that way. We want our own land, and listen, it's the U.S. government that is the enemy of everybody here and not you.
What heritage are you?
I'm German, thank you.
You're German.
I'm
You're all
Polish.
German.
I'm Polish.
German and Irish.
German and Irish.
Here's a Christian lady. Excuse me.
I'm all...
Fellows, ho! Yes.
You say we. Don't speak for us.
We're not speaking
We,
for
no,
you.
the gentleman in the center, I'm
Listen,
not
if you
even
don't want
speaking
part
to
of it, then
you.
we don't want
I'm
you.
speaking to the men in the center. You use the statement we. You go and you find your own homeland. America was founded and put together by all races and all people from all over the world. And that is what we are.
See, we could have like Spicoli and Cabana Man Dan and King TL like up in the stands, and they could just have their little segments be these like where they address the address the panel. Like Spicoli could say which of the panelists he wanted to to see their vajayjay. I think it could work.
And we are one nation under God. And you are not, my son. You're not.
Well, then why don't we have a lot of non-white scientists and physicists, teachers, government officials? Why aren't they up there? If we're all equal and we're all going for the same base.
How come our country
You
is
got
going
white
down?
guilt, lady. We don't want to associate with you. There's white people out there in TV
We don't want
land.
anybody...
Your
who doesn't
father,
want to be a part
Tom,
of it.
is one of the Aryan movement leaders. Is he ex-KKK?
Do you think that Prancess has white guilt?
Right?
You did an
Ex-leader of
interview
the
with
California KKK.
Yeah, you did an interview with him. And he smashed you in the ground, by the way.
What'd you say?
Smashed you in the ground. You didn't do too good. You lost your cool.
He smashed you in the ground?
Yeah.
You and your father together couldn't smash me in the ground. But I digress. How old were you when your father began preaching the racist line to you?
Racist, being proud of your heritage, racist. That's what I mean when I say racist. My father never forced anything down on me. I came from a racially conscious family. All the sisters I have, my mother.
Absolutely. Like, I know it'll never happen because of the nature of like the different sectors and stuff, but like a bunch of the IRL lolcow people collabing in person on something that's like organized like this, I think would be the vibe would just be so insane.
And my father, many of my relatives, especially my family, they told me, they showed me, and a lot of it was just by experience. I went to public school. I didn't go to private school.
If I was the producer of the show, I would have it the first episode, which would be like the test episode. I would have Ben debate World of T-shirts, and they would each have like 2 or 3 like help cards that you could like in the debate. Like Ben can tag in Grace just for one topic, or World of T-shirts can tag in Mr. Based for a single topic. That would be like my main event of the debate night. I think that would be so surreal, and I would get so fucked up to watch it.
I had just as much a chance to be convinced that I'm wrong now, but I'm not. There's literally thousands of people out there in TV land in the audience. You don't see them because they're not going to stand up now, that agree with a lot of what we're saying. You have to fit us in your agenda, no matter if you hate us or not.
The United States has to be a racially...
Hey, Missing Link. Last time I knew, they got it started. They drove it a little bit down the road, and then it shut down again. They got it towed. And that's it, as far as I know. Grace hasn't even been really posting in the Discord hardly at all. OPC Don's taken that over. So that's the latest news I have, is that they thought they had it fixed, and then they didn't, and then it was being taken to the Mercedes dealership.
Pure country? Who believes in that?
A lot of people. I get calls every day. Thousands of people are writing out these shows.
There are only 1,500 skinheads in the whole country.
Oh, well,
Says who?
throw your figures
Says the
around.
ADL. You listen to them again?
Let's talk equality and the ADL. Okay, so we say blacks and whites are equal, okay? What about the Jews, okay? They're supposedly the self-proclaimed chosen people. Well, wouldn't you say that's one step?
I just think Ben debating World of T-shirts is funny, because obviously Ben would like be able to like super dunk on him constantly, but I feel like Ben would be able to really like get inside the mind and want to fuck with World of T-shirts. And I think that like those Grace World of T-shirt encounters could be really funny too. I just think the dynamic would be just so like it would feel like the old cartoons where like the different Hanna-Barbera characters would interact.
One step above equality. So wouldn't you say that they have a much better chance at making it in this country than anyone else? Yes, they do.
This is
And
the
it's
land of
truth.
opportunity.
They own the
We give
media.
black
Anybody
people
back.
How come all of our taxes have to pay to support Israel?
Bob,
And the chosen
Bob, how old are you?
people? 20.
What do your parents think about your activities?
20. They don't.
Your parents don't like what you do.
Half the people in this audience are
They don't.
They're embarrassed by it, aren't they?
No, they're not.
They're embarrassed by what you do.
I can name as many.
No, they're not.
They're not?
Well, you can't hear me? What's the problem?
Henry Kissinger.
Like, this is just, I just think this is so drastically different than the entertainment we have today. Like, this is a cheesy daytime talk show, and like there's like this growing tension between Geraldo and the guests, between the guests and the audience, between different sections of the audience. It just feels so real and so like raw compared to today, where everything's just so overproduced and controlled. And
I have more questions to address to our 3 panelists, but before I do, let me introduce 2 more guests. First of all, Roy Ennis. He is the chairman of the Congress of Racial Equality. He feels that our country is being embarrassed by these racists. Sitting next to him, Rabbi A. Bruce Goldman, the president of the Center for Jewish Living. He says that these racist groups are being run by pathological misfits. And in that line, Bob Hike, before I get to our 2 new guests, we got this right from your writing. Do you not believe, sir, that Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were heroes?
What's that from my writing? Please tell me what you're talking about.
Do you answer the question, please?
Heroes?
Yeah.
They, yeah, I guess, yeah, sure. They took up a struggle.
So cut through the bull. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
They were honorable.
In 10 years, they did what the party, the National Socialist Party in Germany, did something that no one else has ever done. In that time, they turned an entire economy around and created a state that was, unparalleled.
And wiped out, wiped out a race of people.
What about Joseph Stalin and the 30 million people?
Wiped out a race of people.
You can't put the supposed 6 million on Adolf Hitler.
I mean, this is it. This is YouTube. This is everything great about YouTube blood sports, but it's in person. It's just, it's so It's so magical.
Man, because Joseph
Why?
Stalin,
You can't?
JFK,
You can't?
every man,
The Holocaust, did it happen, Bob Hike?
Like it's even got like the it's even got the spur gouts.
Does it matter?
How many?
Does it matter?
To the 30 million people,
Does it matter?
Jews in the Ukraine that died. It was killed by
please.
Joseph Stalin, the man
Rabbi Goldman.
who was responsible for putting the Nuremberg trials.
Rabbi Goldman.
Rudolph Hess
Rabbi
did
Goldman.
nothing, put him away for 30 years, and
He
killed him in jail.
he says it doesn't matter. He says the
Doesn't
Holocaust
matter. I didn't say it.
doesn't
I
matter.
said
Should we be
doesn't matter.
frightened by his appalling ignorance? Or should we
What
be
about
angered?
30 million
Shut up!
people, man?
Or should we be angered by
You're a
it?
good man. No, here's a good man. and
Shut up! Go ahead.
This is the same kind of talk that we had over the war in Vietnam when we counted bodies. An atrocity is an atrocity, whether it's one life or 300,000
But the Jews
or
are
3
at the
million.
top of the list.
Let me tell you how I first understood the meaning of the Holocaust. It was incomprehensible to imagine 6 million or 30 million slaughtered by the Russians under Stalin. He's correct. Okay. Until one day, sitting at the Eichmann trial in 1960 in Jerusalem, as a young rabbi, as a human being, I tried to figure out what is 6 million. Until I heard a woman describe how a man named Adolf Eichmann ordered a young Nazi SS Gestapo lieutenant to take her child from her breast, she was nursing, and take that child and swing it by the feet against a brick wall as the brains poured out onto its
About
mother's breast.
Hiroshima, Dresden, 60 million.
All
World
war
War
is
II
genocide,
killed.
man. Face
Shut
up
up.
to it.
Shut up.
You're
And listen.
total.
And
What
listen.
Let
about
him finish,
Palestinians?
please. Let him
Listen.
finish.
I'm getting tired of it.
Let him
Just going
finish.
on about
I'm
the
tired. You're
Jews.
tired. Shut up.
I then multiplied that incident by 6 million. And if that had been the only event perpetrated by racists, bigots, and people who hate each other, there is one thing that I've understood,
more sympathy there, guys.
both in the area of what I call ethnic therapy, ethnotherapy, I am, interracial, interreligious activities in which I listen to people intimately discussing their personal feelings involving racism and everything else, in interpersonal relationships. The one thing that I've always noticed to be the case is I've never met a racist who loved himself or herself.
Roy Innes.
I mean, this is just like I mean, I was alive. I was a kid, but like I was alive during this time, and like I really enjoyed the shows. But like I appreciate these daytime kind of they're not really debate shows, I guess, but whatever. Like just the open kind of the open talk show format. It's just so. It's exactly what I wish YouTube it's what I wish YouTube was, I guess.
Michael Palish of the Skinheads of the National Resistance says that our country has been National White Resistance. Our country has been invaded by the Hispanics, raped and deceived by the Jews, and maligned and fornicated on by the blacks. Should we respond with anger or with sympathy?
I came here prepared to be very angry, but I feel very good. Because I see a cross-section of Americans here, and they're in good shape.
You say they're in good shape, but it's not.
The fact that this ad hoc cross-section of America understand that these guys are immature clowns and should be
I have a lot of
ignored,
people who beg to differ with you.
you know.
These fellas, they're immature clowns. Well, I beg to differ with you.
Make me feel very good.
He doesn't have an argument. That's what he's trying to tell you guys.
What argument? That makes very simple. You're a bunch of young
I can
clowns.
tell you.
I just think this is so good. Like, this is just so entertaining.
That are trying to grab every bit of media because you know in certain elements in America, racism pays well. You want to be racist.
They called us. Believe me.
What? Wait.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. I believe that. Just like roaches, when you...
This dude in the middle is cooking, man. He is really about to spurg out for sure.
turn the light on, you go and scurry.
Yeah, but you don't...
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Oh, man.
Our focus, young hate mongers. Let's take some.
It's just such a it's like such an interesting dynamic of people too that went to these. It just seems like every demographic.
Audience questions.
I was curious. They're awfully young. They are very media slick. They know how to bait, and they use words that they've been trained in. I also am not that upset. What my question is, I think...
This is like one of the serious panelists, like Janet or something, that's trying to come in and give serious advice in the middle of this shit show.
That they're quite ignorant. I'd like to know their
We
education.
think you're ignorant. Take your materialistic
What's your
attitude and
all
go
right, what's your
back to
educational
home and
background?
lock
guys?
it up.
Did you finish high school?
She's like, these fellows seem nice, but I'm interested in their education. Listen, you capitalist.
Materialism isn't
Yes.
going to do anything for
What's your education? Let's start with you.
Went through high school. I had a working background. I worked all through high school. 7
So are these guys are anti-capitalist then?
years of baseball, 2 years All-Star. Came from a good family. I'm an electrician.
What's
make
your
a lot of
educational
money.
background, Bob?
I took the GED and got out when I was 14.
Okay, Michael, what's your education?
I graduated from high school, and I'm a layout and design artist.
A land design artist?
Layout and design.
Layout and design.
And an ex-con.
Are you an ex-con?
And an ex-con.
Also?
Not an ex-con. Are you out of your mind?
Yes, you are, Michael. Why'd you tell him the truth?
Hey, I got no convictions, man.
I have to go to court tomorrow. That's true, but I'm not an ex-con, and I don't.
What are you charged?
You could take a drug test, and you wouldn't see any needle.
What are you charged with?
Oh, drugs have nothing to do with it. Only
What are you charged with?
I'm not an ex-con. You can.
Rabbi, what's he
my
charged with?
resume here, it won't say
What's
I'm
he
an
charged
ex-con.
with?
I was thrown out.
He was arrested for a felony.
A felony. Wait, hold it. Here we are. Question.
He reportedly served time for felony.
I'd like to know if
When?
you're so... If
You
your
wouldn't
beliefs,
remember anyway.
if you have true belief in your convictions and your movement is as good and as powerful as you say it is, why are you afraid to let other people speak? Why are you not like other minorities and allow other people to pursue whatever happiness they find in whatever religion they find, whatever color they happen to be? You don't let anybody answer a question, and if you don't have a question like this lady over here, you tell her to shut up. What are you afraid of?
The reason why I do that is because I get sick and tired of hearing the sob stories from kikes. I get sick and tired of seeing Uncle Tom here sucking up, trying to be a white
Go ahead, Roy. Go ahead.
Now, let me tell you.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh. This is absolutely unhinged. Like, oh my gosh. Like the vibe here is just crazy. This was 30 years ago, and I'm like, I'm all anxious from how crazy this is. All right, let me get calmed down. All right.
You gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. Hey, hold it. Hold it. Sit down.
Oh my God. Man, he just grabbed that dude, man. He was not having it. Like, this was literally, at the time, it was all over the news. Like, this was what everybody was talking about for, like, a little while. This was just so insane. Can you imagine something like this breaking out on like at an Ellen taping? And they still played the fucking music.
Beat at 11.
Only slightly the worse for the wear. We're back. The skinheads have been, the racist skinheads have been cleared out of the building. Roy, Ennis, and I must admit I feel the same way. It was just too much. The kike remark was just too much. Rabbi, I'm just a half.
Do you remember when George Bush accused Mike Dukakis of being a liberal? What Mike Dukakis should have said is what I'm going to say to you. He should have said, "Ich bin a liberal."
Hey, Samantha, how's it going?
And told him what it meant. Ich bin a kike. I am part of a tradition of 5,000 years of justice and compassion. I am part of a people who produce every single year 50 to 80% of all the Nobel Prizes in the world.
Geraldo gets it. He's content-minded for sure.
I am part of a community of 1.8% people.
That girl.
Of the population of the United States that produces theater and art and sculpture and music and culture that is enjoyed by 98% of the American population.
Roy,
Yeah, Ananja. He had that like huge device on for a while. It reminds me of when like Andy Kaufman put the neck brace on after he got the pile driver.
Ich bin a kike. Let me tell you what a Nazi looks like. I looked at Adolf Eichmann and I said, what does a Nazi look like? You know what a Nazi looks like? He looks like our uncle. He looks like our neighbor next door mowing the lawn. He looks like our accountant. He looks like our lawyer. He looks like our father and he looks like our brother. He can have a shaven head or he can have long hair. He can wear a three-piece suit and run a campaign that requires 8 people to be removed a month before a U.S. election for having 8 Nazis. 8 neo-fascists, of which several of them have been accused of killing 100,000 Jews.
Okay, calm down. Okay, that's enough.
Calm down.
Good, I'm not.
You've never seen me when I'm not.
They absolutely picked the most like incendiary people to represent every possible angle in this. Like everybody on this episode was just, they came on the show ready to go.
I am perfectly calm.
Roy Ennis. They say, let me just say this. Sticks and stones who break my bones, but names can never hurt me. But that name hurt us both.
Yeah.
Why were you motivated to stand that way?
Because this is beyond just the Nazi problem. It's a problem of increasing and growing indecency in America among certain hoodlum types.
He should have choked Geraldo when he came over and patted him on the shoulder.
Who believe they've got the constitutional right to verbally assault. That's the word. Verbally assault people. I stand here today as a message to all the hoodlums, black, white, pink, Martian or otherwise. I would not stand idly by and have them abuse me verbally.
This is a message to all white people, black people, and Martians.
Assault me verbally. And more than that, I would not allow them to assault anybody else physically or verbally. I was very much hurt when I saw the television and heard about the gentleman's Bill's problem here with these skinheads.
The family that was
And let me tell you, I think my rage was more for you than for myself, for what they did to you. And I will hope that you will call on me if you ever have any trouble with these guys.
That's I wanted to ask them the question because they come from the same. The people that we had the incident with were from Pennsylvania, and it just goes to show you how violent. Like the man in the middle shows you how his temper is very sharp. He goes right off, no ifs, ands, or buts. So it goes to show you how it went off down where it happened with us. Because I would submit it to the arrest, and even at the end, after the incident happened, the guy grabbed me by my neck and told me, wouldn't it be easy just to join us in the beginning?
Yeah. Intimidation.
And it goes to show you that there's no doubt in my mind they would have done something to her and the baby.
That's right. And if more people stand up
That's
the way
the point.
you did and I did,
That's the
these
point.
hoodlums will back off.
That's the point. Hold it. That is the point. Listen.
Don't verbally assault this baby or I will choke you.
The main thing that Roy Innes said is something that I hope everybody in this country heeds. When someone calls someone a name, when someone attacks someone...
Let's listen to this closely and think if you think that now, 30 years later, that Geraldo Rivera, the reporter personality that he turned out to be, if he would have now this same opinion he has here where verbal assault is a real thing. I don't think modern day Geraldo would roll with that. I don't think he would feel that strongly that that like words are violence.
in a subway because they don't follow their particular belief, then it's...
Oh, man, yeah. Roy Innes. We're definitely going to watch that on stream sometime. That was a crazy episode of Morton Downey.
It's not just the responsibility of the person attacked. It's not just the responsibility of the person being mugged. It's all our responsibilities. Ich bin
a kike.
But that's just like John Kennedy said, Ich bin Berliners at the Berlin Wall in 61.
John Kennedy...
Ich bin ein Kike, all of us.
No.
We'll be right back.
Ich bin a Berliner...
What an absolutely strange...
It strikes me that some of our audience may be fairly traumatized by what happened here. Here's a lady. Now, where are you from?
I'm California.
And what do you think?
Well, I was in the back and I moved forward just to maybe get out of here, but I mean, this is my first day in New York.
But what do you think about what you heard?
Well, I had no idea what the difference between them and them. When they all came in, I had no idea what they wanted out of us. And,
Is it frightening?
sort of shook up.
Yeah. So where are you from?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
What an absolutely worthless interview. Oh, wow, look, there's, what's his name from Conan O'Brien's old sidekick, Andy Richter. Hey, Lalo is in the audience.
So what do you think?
I'm shook up also. It's kind of scared, but, you know, talking with these people in between the breaks and stuff, they're very nice. And it's like, I look at them and I look at those other people. Now, those other people, they're against everything, but they're clean, okay? But these people, no offense, okay? But...
Look, these people over here, they hate everyone, but they're clean. These people over here, nice people, but woo! What is this lady talking about?
I would be more afraid of you if I met you on the street than I would be of them. No. And you're very nice.
You know, that's...
I think this is why those videos where, like, people go to Trump rallies or, you know, other political rallies or, like, you know, protests and stuff and interview people, and you get those, like... you find those people that are just going to be completely and totally honest. Like, those videos sometimes make the people look kind of goofy, but I think people appreciate that type of thing. And I think, like, here has that same kind of vibe where people can stand up and they get screen time. And, like, that first lady just completely fumbled the entire thing. And they kept it in. And then they just kept rolling. And then, like, this lady has this weird take about cleanliness, and they just left it in. Like, I think now they would try to, like, you know, cherry pick the best comments that were, like, the most whatever. And I just like this, like, kind of more chaotic audience interaction. Like, look at these ladies.
So that is interesting. But is that one of the dangers of the Nazis, that, as the rabbi said, they look just like you and I? Okay, now, all right, let's get this. You guys are, stand up. You guys are not Nazis, right?
No, not at all. In fact, I want to make a clear point right now. It's not just skinheads that are involved in this. For example, as you might have guessed from the length of hair, I am not a skinhead. I'm involved in an organization called the Anti-Fascist Front, This man here is involved in an organization called Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice. This man over here is involved in an
Hey, we got 1988 Antifa in the house.
Organization called the Anti-Fascist Skinhead League. Now, I want you all to know we put our necks out on the line by coming here and being on TV because there is a lot of problem between the
Is this, what was his name, Jimmy Doyle, the main character from Bully?
skinheads. And an important point that needs to be made, a great misconception on the part of the media, people are playing up on these Nazi skinheads. The Nazi skinheads, particularly in New York, the white power skinheads, are a minority among the skinheads, and they are treated as a minority, and every now and then they're reminded that they're a minority.
But wait a second, how can the public tell the difference between a good skinhead and a bad skinhead?
You hear more about the bad than you do the good.
Well, I mean, we can tell the difference basically by the appearance. And you can see, like, if they're wearing a white power symbol, if they're wearing a Nazi symbol, it's obvious, you know. It's really hard. There is no way people on the outside can really tell.
What is a skinhead? Why do you shave your head?
I just believe in the lifestyle.
And what is the lifestyle?
Just working class and being involved in what's going on around you, simply. That's my opinion. I mean, but there's 11 different factions of skins. You have scooter skins, you have gay skins, communist skins, socialist skins. There's no real one group that you can pin down and say, well, this is skinhead.
Well, basically,
I had no idea.
we should go back to the origins of skinhead, which was in the 60s. It was a working class movement, and it was not racially biased at all. The original skinhead music was soul and reggae and ska. They were highly influenced by the West Indian blacks, so it was not racially motivated until the 70s when it was sort of revived and it was altered and distorted. And then, so that's why you have the factions. And there have always been factions, and there have always been clashes between the two main, which is what you've seen tonight.
Well, what happened? Where did it go bad? Where did the racial thing start happening? Well, was it the parents? He says, Mr. Stump here. Wait a second. There's probably a lot of truth. I consider you like every man. You know, you were victimized in this thing that happened to you on the train by the skinheads, the racial skinheads. But what's your opinion of this? Here you're raising this beautiful little daughter, 2 months old, almost caught up in the violence. What do you think about this as a parent?
Well, meeting these guys here, when I first came in, I didn't know. As I said to one of them before, how can you tell the difference? I mean, because the ones that we encountered, you notice they was like the same. This is the type of reaction that we received, so you can imagine. So it goes to show you what they would have done if they did get their hands on the baby. So it goes to show you. The obvious is right there. You see the man in the middle, how violent he got, how mad he got. I mean, you seen his temper jump off like that. So now you can see what I was saying because I wasn't involved or refused, and I wasn't going to take it. You can imagine now how I had to go through.
Okay, sit down, everybody, sit down. I want to talk to Roy. Hold it. Roy, hold it. Is racism, and I don't know what the equivalent is in anti-Semitism or all the other they're against Catholics too, for all I know. Is that on the rise in your perception?
No, it's not. But before that, let me say this in reference to the question about the dress. Keep in mind, the Nazi brown shirts were spit and polish in Germany. Don't go by spit and polish looks. These are decent kids here from what I can discern. These are bums. These were spit and polish brown shirt bums. Some of the biggest criminals and dope pushers got the prettiest cars and the prettiest clothes. All right? So be careful about that.
All right, now what about the question of racism and anti-Semitism?
No, it is not on the rise. I think the media is saying this, and it's
That one female skinhead cracks me up.
unfortunate. The leaders are hustling this, all right, for their own good. The plain fact is America is less racialistic today than at any time in the history of the country.
Let me ask, I hope that's true with the bottom of my heart, but let me ask maybe a tougher question for you, Roy. Do you think that black radicals, people like Sharpton and Maddox and Mason and Farrakhan, do you think that they help exacerbate? Oh, there go the fellows. I guess they're being arrested. Oh no, they're not being arrested. I don't want them. I just want them out of town. They're just a bunch of punks. Just a bunch of punks. Let them go. The boys in blue. New York's finest hustles them out of here. Good. They're not getting arrested. All right, so I don't care. Being escorted out of here.
Hey, Ronald, look.
Good. Hold it. Let me just get this answer. Please.
What you were doing is the proper thing, all right? And I'm sure the difference. You allow them to be heard. You don't censor them, and that's good. Because they're fool, they will, self-destruct. But at the same time, you make certain that I'm here. The rabbi is here. This very decent gentleman is here. These young folks are here. In other words, you give equal time to another point of view. The problem of the impression of increasing racism is a certain irresponsible element in media is given a disproportionate amount of time to the Sharptons, the Maddocks, the Masons, and the haters, and the skinheads. That's the problem.
Okay. Light is the best disinfectant. We'll be right back.
I think another issue with doing a show like this, like IRL with real like IRL people in locales, is that like part of the allure of Geraldo and shows like that for these people is that it's a way to be platformed in a time when like they really probably didn't have a way to platform. Like it's, people that would have went on Jerry Springer back in the day, like don't have to go on there anymore because they can start a YouTube channel and broadcast all of their, behavior instead of just, doing some performance on Jerry Springer or whatever. So everybody would probably want like a bunch of money.
Okay, we're back. Our focus has been young hate mongers. We're almost out of time. Yeah.
I just wanted to say we should all be proud of our race. We should all fight for our race. And our race is the human race. Bottom line.
All right. Well said. Well said.
Corny.
Rabbi, you've got 20 seconds for some final thoughts.
William Stump is here because he's a victim. I'm here because you invited the Nazis, as other media have, to give them a forum in America. You have taken pipsqueaks, racist, not one complete sentence out of any one of them, except hate. Not one complete sentence, and you gave them a national forum.
But at least he allowed the other point of view to be heard.
I am more concerned.
This is like what happens whenever people visit the Thorpes and then the Thorpes leave and then the people are like, how dare you align with how dare you profit from these people or whatever. It's like, you just ran a whole show with these people and now that they're gone, you're like trashing them.
But you do a show.
And he's like shaming Geraldo for having them on. Like, come on, dude.
On this.
Nazis. More
the
Nazis.
New Nazis, the new right, and the Reagan administration. Right here.
This is, here, let me get Tony.
This is the fear right here.
What do you think, Tony?
I think that we don't have to worry about people like this because all they're doing is breeding hate. We don't hate in here, but they'll all be in jail within 10 years. We don't have to worry about people like this. They'll be in jail. Who do we worry about?
After they've killed how many people?
I don't think we have to worry about anybody.
How many more victims?
Like this? I think we all love each other as brothers and sisters.
What the hell is going on with this guy? He just shows up at a TV taping. He don't know any of these people in the audience. He's like, hey, listen, let's not worry about anybody. We all love each other.
Don't let them polarize us.
That's it.
Don't let their hate polarize us.
Can I hold that, baby? Let me take this little piece.
Don't let their hate polarize us or I'll choke you.
Yeah, I don't want to don't bleed on the baby. Here. Okay, this is the future, folks. This is like the lady said back there, I'm proud of the race of this baby. This baby belongs to the human race. And I hope she can grow up in a world that doesn't have hate mongers. And if they do, I hope the majority of people fight against them. Thank you.
I mean, this is great television to me. It's like it's so corny, it's so cheesy, it's so over the top, but it's like it's so entertaining and it's so like Geraldo, after getting like a chair thrown at his face, now he's given this inspirational speech while holding the baby. Wow.
Services have been furnished to the Geraldo Show in exchange for these announcements. Hotel accommodations in New York City provided by the Omni Park Central in mid-Manhattan near Carnegie Hall, Central Park, and Broadway theaters. Call 800-THE-OMNI or 212-484-3300.
Rabbi Goldman, Roy Ennis, you here in the audience, thank you for being here. I'm sorry about what happened, but thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Okay, hang on. So this is just a couple minutes long. It's an interview with Geraldo. Like
the neo-Nazi movement, the skinhead movement was really taking off. There were conventions held around the country. There were radio stations that were allowing, hate speech. A lot of gross anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism and racism were the kind of foundations of it. And I guess the genesis of the idea is that there became a faction of the skinhead movement who didn't appreciate the anti-Semitism or the racism, but they liked the macho biker, the trappings, the accoutrements of that kind of fascist approach. And we had the idea to bring those, the non-racist skinheads, in with some of the more notorious skinheads. But I have to tell you that at that point, I was actively. I've always been a brawler, street person. I always thought that was my great strength. The source of my physical courage was. I had more fights than Jerry Clooney, and he was the heavyweight champ on television. I just stopped.
Geez, what's this guy going to take the... I thought we were supposed to be learning about what happened, not hearing this dude glaze himself.
I styled myself as a kind of a wise guy, and I was a boxer at that time, in training, and so I had an attitude and almost a knowledge that push was going to come to shove, that something was going to happen. Because I remember I wore my combat boots...
On that particular program?
On that particular program. I wore my combat boots, and I specifically told the guards what I had told every cameraman I'd ever worked with: don't interrupt the fight unless I'm losing. And so when it happened, it was. If you look at the program, you see the clear building of tension. It's almost like a backyard brawl. You can see how.
I stand by, like, it just doesn't carry the weight if you only see the fight break out. Like, that's like the, that's the goon zone, but like it's getting there, like that slow build of tension. Then like when that dude stands up and seeing the guy in the middle just going nuts the whole time. Like, it's just, I just think it's a great episode. I'm gushing about it.
How it's evolving. And then it just, there's the catalyst. One guy touches another guy, and then it became just a vivid example of...
He's going to say they based like Fight Club off of his life next or something.
The mob violence, I guess. And my mob against their mob. And ultimately, the cops came in. We were in Times Square Studios. It didn't take long for the cops to get there. They just came in from...
He's like, well, listen, it was down to just my crew against their crew. And well, then the police showed up.
Outside. And it became the most watched episode of my program, and it propelled that talk show to, that talk show could still be on if I wanted it to be. I closed that talk.
Oh my God, is this real?
Sure, it had a 4 rating.
How dare you, Geraldo, sit down with the archive of American television. This isn't the World Weekly News, brother. This is the archive of American television, and you're going to feed them this bullshit?
A 4 rating now, that's more than twice as big as Anderson is now. Right. Or Ellen. It's just huge.
He's comparing his ratings from decades ago to modern broadcasters.
But I just didn't want to do it anymore. But the fight itself was absolutely pure in the sense that we didn't rig it. We didn't...
Well, listen. I think that it was all real, but I think it was real in the sense, or that they fixed it in the sense that they put all of these combustible elements into an environment where they could interact with each other. And there's always that chance that everyone will be cool, but if you put all combustible people in a small area together, they knew something was going to happen, but I don't think they like asked them to do it or anything.
Preordain the outcome. Once the violence happened, even the violence was in its own way cathartic. It revealed them to be who they were because they threw the chair and they're dirty fighters. And
he skipped right past the part where the guy was gonna punch him and then he choked the guy. He went right past it.
Revealed us to be who we were, the champions as we portrayed.
Oh my God, this is so hard to watch. Come on, Geraldo. We watched this amazing episode. Makes Geraldo look like this like fantastic creator, and now he's just shitting all over it.
Ourselves as we saw ourselves, which is more important than how we portrayed ourselves, as the champions of the lesser.
It doesn't matter how we portrayed ourselves, it mattered how we felt. So basically he's saying, listen, if you watch it, you may not see it, but trust me, we were champions, bro. We were the champions of the lesser people.
The evils, and it was what it was. I'll always live with it. It's like Al Capone's vault. I'm sure that, or I was certain, Willowbrook aside, that it was going to be my tombstone. I opened Al Capone's vault and I got my nose broken in a brawl with the skinheads.
What a great interview. Let me see real quick, since I was short. Let me see if I can find a decent clip of the... He didn't bring it up at all. I mean, to me, that's the most standout. I'm not blaming anybody because I think everybody was there to start shit. But definitely somebody has to be the first person to take it physical. Let's see here. Oh my God, 1 hour and 30 minutes?
I'm Geraldo Rivera. Treasury Department assigned a 26-year-old incorruptible special agent. One task and one task alone, and that was...
Let's just watch a few random minutes of this. I don't want to sit through the whole thing. It's actually really, really boring, or I would. If I'm saying to skip through it, I think it's pretty boring. But since I'm probably not going to do another Geraldo episode, I figured we'd throw this in since it's his other big historic moment of opening Al Capone's vault.
Was getting Capone. I'm sure you'll remember this, but actor Robert Stack brought him into all of our living rooms. The agent's name was Elliot Ness, a man whose bold exploits were made famous by the popular television series The Untouchables. Elliot Ness's bold raids on Capone breweries and other enterprises cost the gangster millions of dollars. And indeed, Ness's work led to 5,000 criminal counts against Scarface Al Capone. And yet many law-abiding Chicagoans didn't have a very high regard for Elliot Ness. Chicago crime photographer
EFD crying somewhere over all this liquor going to waste.
Tony Berardi, for instance, still has a very strong point of view.
Elliot Ness, would call us up and say, we'll meet you at a certain place at a certain time, and we'd be there. They'd break up a couple of barrels for us just to show that they were on the job. And
let me ask you this. Who'd you like better, Elliot Ness or Al Capone?
Al Capone.
How come?
Because I knew what Al Capone was, Elliot Ness. He was just a publicity hound in my book. He was a messenger boy. I get a great kick up when I see those Untouchables.
Elliot Ness was just a messenger boy? Nice.
My God, he never fired a gun in his life. No, I haven't got too much to say about him.
So you still like Capone?
Wait a minute.
Dude, this old dude just buried Elliot Ness. Wow.
I liked Al Capone as a newsman. Personally, I hated his guts. I come from an Italian family. There's between 15 and 20 million Italians in this country. And there's probably 2,000 bums out of those 20 million. If it was up to me, I would take those 2,000 bums, put them in Soldiers Field in Chicago, get me another Jack McGurn and blow him down. That's how much I like Al Capone.
What in the... What? I'm so glad out of wherever I could have stopped this that I stopped it right there. Like, holy shit.
Whoa. Okay. Can you guess what we have planned for that wall? Well, you'll find out when you come back after these commercial messages. Don't go away. The fun is...
And if you're too young to remember, or if you weren't alive when this happened, this was a huge deal. It was live on TV. It was this amazing, like, it was from an era when pretty much like one TV show would be the topic of conversation at a time for like blocks of time, and like this, everybody was talking about this.
It's just beginning. Welcome back to the basement of the Lexington Hotel. I'll give you a hint about what's going on there. Those fellows are explosives experts. More about that in a second. First, I want to give you a little bit more history. Even though drinking was theoretically outlawed during Prohibition, that didn't stop millions of Americans from indulging in their favorite pastime. Take a look. Just 6 months after Prohibition began, a brand new American institution was born, the Speakeasy.
Speakeasy, of course.
Still around today, the Green Mill was one of the most stylish and popular of the more than 20,000 speakeasies in the Chicago area alone. Because of clubs like the Green Mill, the sweet sounds of jazz, like the harsh rattle of Tommy guns, became one of the hallmarks of the Roaring '20s. For a time, Al Capone owned the Green Mill, and he and his fellow mobsters at the other speakeasies had no trouble at all attracting and keeping top-name talent like Franz Jackson, Earl Hines, and Cab Calloway. Former band leader and now jazz historian Dempsey Travis told me exactly how Scarface Al did it, how he kept the loyalty of his performers. This is what happened when Joey Lewis tried to leave.
Right here at the Green Mill. Joey Lewis, singer, comedian, big-time artist, and somebody offered him $1,000 a week as compared to the $650 a week he was making at the Green Mill, and he accepted it. 3 weeks after he left, some guys knocked on his door one night, 3 fellas to be exact, and attempted to cut his throat from ear to ear and take off part of his tongue. And so it took from the late 40s to early 50s, I guess from 1941, 42 to 50s, before he really gained his national popularity back again. But
They cut his tongue?
They cut his tongue.
So he wouldn't sing for anyone?
He wouldn't sing, he couldn't talk. All he could do was make motions with his hands. So yes, they were bad boys.
Bad boys.
Bad boys.
Bad boys.
Okay, guys, as you can see, we have encountered a very substantial obstacle. It's a limestone wall. We semi-suspected it because there are limestone walls on both sides. Now, what we're going to do is something fairly radical. Come on, Don, let's get out of here. Here's Sherwin Tarnoff, the man who taught me how to use the Tommy gun. He's also an explosives expert. He's working with Dennis, which is Dennis. Okay. Take it easy. And what was it again? I'm sorry, Jerry, right, sorry. Okay, they're both explosives experts, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take that wall down with a carefully controlled, prepared explosive. Tell me about it, Sean.
We're going to use 60% dynamite sticks. We're going to use 2 sticks located at the bottom of the wall. The holes are drilled in about 36 inches.
Okay, this is 100% Nicolas Cage in disguise. I should review the G.G. Allen interview sometime from Jane Whitley's show. As long as it's at least somewhat TOS appropriate, I can.
Pack them in there, packing them in sand right now. We're going to shoot the charge. It's going to lift the wall up and then cause it to fall forward into the room.
Okay, I'm all for it. I want to get the wall down and see what's behind it. But I'm curious about...
YouTube is actually pretty lenient on, is more lenient with, people who review or react to stuff because if it's presented in its raw form, like a documentary form or a news form, or it's presented like as raw footage, and you're not, as long as you're not like advocating for whatever the thing is that's in the video, a lot of the time you can, like, YouTube won't take it down even if it's against TOS.
One slight detail. This is a 90-year-old building. It's older than 90 years, 95 almost. What's the chances that the explosion will take the whole building down?
Well, the problem is here that the wall that we're working on happens to be beyond the foundation of the building. It's actually under the sidewalk near the street area, so it has nothing to do with the foundation wall.
Okay, now, what is that putty stuff I see in here? Don, come in with me. Look at that.
That's the whole stuff.
That's just, you sort of just cemented in there?
The charges in place.
Okay, and what are the black bottle things?
Those are part of the charges.
Okay, those are charges. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, you got to clear the basement now, everybody. Clear the basement out. Let's go. Everybody upstairs. When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to blow that wall up. Let's see what happens. Okay, clear the basement. Come on, everybody out. All
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults will continue after these messages.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm
Oh my gosh, it's Doug Llewellyn from the People's Court.
Doug Llewellyn, and while Geraldo is busy preparing to blast the vault at the Lexington, we are...
Whoa, is this the dastardly guy from the cartoon? Look at this guy's head. Or is that Mac Tonight from McDonald's? Holy shit. What am I looking at here? It looks like a face to me.
are here about 25 blocks north of the Lexington at the Hyatt
Oh, is that an Al Capone in the car?
Regency Hotel in downtown Chicago, where a gigantic Al Capone safe-cracking party is underway. A party with hundreds of people here to watch this show and to roam about a lot of Al Capone-era memorabilia, such as this 1929 Model A Ford. It was a police car, typical of the police cars that roamed the streets of Chicago while Al Capone was here in power. As I think you will be able to see in a couple of minutes, a lot of people are dressed a la the 1920s. You've got your gun. Everybody having a good time here? I think they're having a grand time. Among other things, for these folks to see, Michael Yor Graham has brought his very extensive, very valuable collection of Al Capone-era memorabilia. Michael, what is that in your hand?
It is a blackjack, and allegedly it was used by Al Capone.
And that's just one of how many items do you have relating to Capone?
1,600. 1,600 Prohibition and Capone.
As you can see, he's really into collecting things regarding Al Capone. Obviously, the big...
What a statement. As you folks at home can see, he's very into collecting items pertaining to Al Capone.
question on everybody's mind is what is in the vault? It's a question we put to people all over the country, and here are some samples of their opinions. Now watch.
I don't think they'll find anything but bones down there.
Probably paraphernalia from the Prohibition.
They're going to find a lot of jewelry.
I do think there's money there.
I don't think they'll find any money in there.
We will find something in there of some significance.
There may be a body or two or some evidence of something.
Probably it'll be an empty vault.
The vault allows to tell a lot of stories.
All right, those are some sample opinions from people not only here in Chicago, but all across the country. I thought very quickly we'd take a random survey here. You're dressed a la the Capone era, the 20... What do you think's in the vault?
Gosh, I don't know. Time will tell.
Take a guess.
Gosh, I don't know.
How about you, sir?
Well, I probably think there's bones in there.
You think bones?
I think there's
yes,
bones.
Yes, sir, what do you think?
Cash, definitely.
Cash. What do you think?
Tickets to Hawaii.
Tickets to Hawaii. All right. A sample of opinion of what people think. One more. How about you, sir? What do you think?
Prohibition era stuff.
Prohibition. And you, sir?
Oh, I'd say a little cash.
I haven't heard anybody say an awful lot of money. I think a lot of money. So let's go back now. We will be back at the Lexington to blow the vault right after these messages.
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults will continue after these messages. Brought to you by Nice and Easy from Clairol.
We're just about 30 seconds away from...
oh, boy, he's got his hard hat on now.
Being ready to blow the limestone wall that has blocked our progress into the vault space. Sherwin, come on in here. You guys ready?
Clear down here.
All right, now you have something else to wire up. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it on live TV. Okay, you set? Okay, what's going to happen now?
So now they're going to wire up the main unit and wire the DuPont box to the unit, and they'll be ready to, and you'll be ready to blow it.
Okay, Wayne, just take a shot of this right here. Billy, put it on. You got it? Okay, camera forward. Look at this. This is, all right, take a good shot of that, Wayne. This is a Capone era plunger. We thought it would be appropriate to use something dating back to old Scarface Al's day. We're about ready to go. This is a moment of some drama. Got our hard hats on. Okay, you guys set? All set? Okay. Clear? Okay, what's the classic phrase? Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That looked like that terrible exploding cage match in AEW.
I think it worked. What happens now, Shore?
Now they're going to go there and check to see if there's any live dynamite left that might have blown out of the wall. If they check that and everything's okay, then it'll be all clear.
Okay, so when you guys search for duds, and we begin sorting through all this, now we've blown down one wall, we've pulled down another. We're digging in. We're getting there. We're finding out what's happening. The mystery of Al Capone's vault is being solved one way or the other. Now, remember, there's a lot of mysteries. We're coming to you live from Chicago.
What? Hey, there's a lot of mysteries? What?
Chicago is a city rich in familiar landmarks. The Water Tower.
Oh, now we're going to learn about the mysteries.
Wrigley Field. The Loop. This is City Hall. Far beneath this building, deep in the bowels of this city, there's another landmark. It's not as well known as the others, but I think you'll find it very impressive. Come on. We're now in the sub-basement of City Hall. We're 3 stories underground, but we're not there yet. We still have further to go. Okay, we've reached our goal. As you can see, it's a tunnel. Actually, it's a 60-mile network of tunnels, an incredible underground labyrinth that crisscrosses the entire downtown Chicago area. Come with me now on a tour of this subterranean maze. Look at this place. It took 11 years to build it back at the turn of the century. Its original purpose was part of an underground telephone system, but over the years it found other uses, some legitimate, apparently some not.
How refreshing is it to get this kind of like bland documentary and IRL style content and not being told to smash the follow button? Isn't that refreshing?
The first change was the installation of railroad-type tracks. Here, maybe you can see them down here. Now, these were put in for an electric train system. The electric trains were used to deliver freight and coal to buildings throughout the Loop section of downtown Chicago.
How's it going, South to West? Yeah, we watched him get his nose broken by the neo-Nazis. Now we're watching him open the vault.
Temperature down in these tunnels is a constant 50 degrees, which made this system of delivery a great way to beat the tough Chicago winter. But check it out. This system goes forever. So what do these tunnels have to do with Al Capone? Well, these are just theories, but think about them. I think they hold water. Back during Prohibition, wouldn't this tunnel system have been an ideal place to store huge quantities of bootleg booze? And what better way to deliver it throughout the city? And there's more. The official surveys show that this system of tunnels extended to within 5 blocks of Al Capone's headquarters in the Lexington Hotel. The rumors around Chicago for half a century are that this system of tunnels was in some way connected to a secret Capone-built tunnel or other underground passageway. No wonder poor Elliot Ness could never catch Scarface Al at home. If these rumors are correct...
I mean, like, what... If you were down there... understanding that it's probably not the case, but like, how worried would you be about a minotaur if you were down in this labyrinth under Chicago?
As soon as the alarm bell went off, Scarface Al would simply disappear underground.
My dad worked for Al Capone for many years, and during that time he experienced doing some work down here in the tunnels that ran to various sporting houses and gambling houses in the area.
Well, I don't believe the police even knew where some of those tunnels were, because they would stage a raid, and before they could get the doors open, the guys were into a building three.
Yeah, that's true. I think I remember at least one I can conjure up some memories of.
Buildings away.
We searched for 4 months for some connecting link between this place, the tunnels in the hotel, and those city-owned tunnel systems. It was frustrating, and it was in vain. And finally, in early April, we did discover a clue that made us want to go and explore further. Check it out. It wasn't a...
That would be a fun stream, to find like a good Geraldo episode and then like a good Jenny Jones or Sally episode. Just have like 2 or 3 good Satanic Panic daytime talk shows.
Simple job. But in light of the urban archaeology we'd already performed at the hotel and around the neighborhood, we weren't surprised. We'd become accustomed to the time-consuming process of breaking up tons of old brick and concrete, of gradually peeling back layers of history. Well, after hours of digging, we began to get a sense of being on the verge of a discovery. The bricks, for instance, were giving way more easily, and they seemed to be sealing up what was once a secret tunnel entrance. Well, we dug on, and our hunch proved correct. We had discovered what looked like an unknown tunnel. It was filled with dirt, but it was completely intact, and it seemed part of a large and complex tunnel system. Okay, I'm going to show you the secret tunnel, a legitimate find that we found after these commercial messages. We'll be right back. Stay there.
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults will continue.
Welcome back. I'm Geraldo Rivera, now standing in the only quiet place in this whole hotel, the northeast corner of the basement, where about 2 weeks ago we discovered a secret tunnel system. Now, this is the wall we took down, and this is the tunnel. If you notice up there, it's the brick and mortar construction. This is a real secret tunnel, and it's certainly big enough for Capone and his boys to use when they wanted to get out of the hotel in a real hurry. Take a look at it. You know, this was also all filled with that backfill that we're finding out in the front side. But look at the ceiling. It's obvious that this was once a hollow space. This was a tunnel. Now, do you have a flashlight out there? Is there a flashlight there? Oh, I'll be right back. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, here we go. I want to show you something back here. We blasted this limestone wall also. We found another tunnel. It's hard to see now because the city has, in the intervening years, put gas and electrical fixtures, so we can't get in there all the way. But this was definitely a tunnel at one time. Where my flashlight beam is now hitting used to be, in the 1930s, a Walgreens drugstore next door to the Lexington Hotel. Now, let me tell you why that's significant. A short time ago, a retired Chicago police officer named Matt Leahy told us his father was a bartender here at the Lexington Hotel, incidentally, during Capone's era.
Hey, how's it going, Calvin? Hey, King. What a legend, a national treasure. Yeah. He's definitely got some iconic moments.
Told us that whenever there was a raid, Capone would use a staircase. Wayne, back up. Let me just show the folks the staircase. And maybe you can just peek back here. I should have showed it before we got in there. But Capone used this staircase leading down from the second floor to go into a secret tunnel that led into the Walgreens drugstore just next door to the Lexington Hotel. So we think that with that eyewitness testimony, with the obvious brick and mortar construction and the care that someone and the expense someone has used, and the fact that it does go to the building that was the Walgreens department store, we can say that we've discovered one of Capone's secret tunnels. And I'm sure that, you know, I was just thinking that maybe they should convert the Lexington
So Al Capone built a tunnel to Walgreens
Hotel into a kind of gangster museum after this program is over. If the walls of this old place could talk, I'm sure that they'd have a lot of secrets to tell us. The Lexington truly is a fascinating relic. When I first came here back in January of this year, aside from the fact that the place was absolutely freezing, I made some fascinating discoveries. I mean, at least for myself.
Look at this transition. We're going to zoom in on the CRT TV.
This place feels like a tomb. The Lexington Hotel was built in 1891. This building's more than 90 years old, but somehow coming in here...
You think every town has underground tunnels? Do you think, though, that every town in those underground tunnels has, like, I guess you'd call them, like, the hairless mine goblins? Like they have in the Kentucky tunnels?
It feels a lot older than that. Steps, God. Coming in here, you feel like an archaeologist. I learned later the hotel had been slated for demolition. You wonder what it must have been like in those days, those arches. It is absolutely freezing. The hotel was saved from destruction by the organization which now owns both the building and presumably whatever's found in the vault. That is, once the IRS takes its share. That organization is called the Sunbow Foundation. Established to train unemployed minority women in the construction trades. Its director is Pat Porter.
We're the largest in the nation, and I pulled this together because of the high level of poverty.
Kind of a dud personality on this lady. I don't care for her outfit either. She reminds me of back in the 80s, they had that wrestling manager, Brother Love. I think she's dressed like Brother Love. I don't care for it at all. Yeah, the Kentucky tunnels down there, they have these they're kind of like hairless goblins that are all in the abandoned mining tunnels, and they come up out of the tunnels at night and bang on people's windows and shit.
For women and children in the nation, and especially here in Chicago, being 90% of the welfare population. And we were feeling that government programs were wasting too much money, tax money, that they were not being run effectively, that in order for women, especially black women, to be able to support themselves and their children, that they would have to make more than $5 an hour in a typing job. So we decided to pull together a program that would be a year's worth of pre-apprenticeship that would actually teach these women how to go out and make the kind of money that a construction worker makes. Laborers here make $13.90 an hour in benefits, and that's enough money to take a whole...
This is what Grace needs to get into, according to OPC Don. She needs to get into one of these programs. Truly Terrifying, the Hairless Goblins. Yeah, if you have Amazon Prime, I think it's on Prime. There's a show called Hellier, Hellier, and it's like a multi-part docuseries about the Hairless Goblins, and I think there's at least 2 seasons of it. I get so fucked up and watch it over and over again. She's killing the vibe, yes. She's very I like this idea, people learning a trade and, moving up in life, but her personality is just, it's so dry.
Whole family off the system. So we decided to do a year's pre-apprenticeship.
We need Grace doing painting door content.
And so far, out of 150 women, we have an 88% placement and retention rate, which is higher than most programs around the nation.
We're located on the beach. Either
once trained, the women could play a vital role in rehabilitating this building.
HW.
We hope to rehab the Lexington into a luxury hotel that will accommodate the new...
Okay. I'm seeing some parallels here, okay? You want to improve what you have, and film yourself doing that content, or in this case, you're kind of exchanging labor for education, so that eventually you can turn that education into more money. But this is going the way the Thorpes want to go. They want to do that type of content, and then they want to have it lead to a streamer hotel. This is kind of scary. I feel like there's a lot of overlap with this woman's plans and the Thorpes. Does Grace have any marketable skills? I think Grace just has that that quality that some people have. I don't know that you really need, if I guess if she could find like the right content groove, I don't think she'd have any problems. I mean, she just got kind of that, I don't know, that like just she's just like a natural performer, and that's pretty hard to find.
McCormick Place expansion, which is our big convention center. The International Women's Museum and Research Center will go in and go up through the core. We'll dome that. And it will be an income-producing property.
One of the most intriguing things about digging out this old hotel in search of...
Well, I think we've had like multiple discussions on streams about how much the Thorpe's adventures are like similar to 80s and 90s sitcoms.
Al Capone has been the secrets that the search...
Wait, hold on. They even did the vault, remember? The safe. They've even done the Geraldo Rivera opening Al Capone's vault scene.
Has so far yielded passageways, doorways.
These Thorpes are tricky.
Stairways, that kind of thing. This, for instance, in the old pictures was a mirror. But then when the mirror was removed, and in the older photographs, this was a doorway.
Only when Geraldo opens this vault, there's nothing in it. But when they opened the safe, it had a butt plug in it.
Hidden doorway. So this is ground zero. This was the big man's office, room 530 here in the Lexington Hotel. It was from right in here, sitting behind that great big mahogany desk with his back to the window overlooking Michigan Avenue, that Al Capone ran his criminal empire. Against these walls, he had canvas bags with padlocks on them, stuffed with cash that was ready for deposit in any one of his numerous secret bank accounts. Now, on these walls, he had portraits of three of his heroes. The first two are pretty standard, Abe Lincoln, George Washington. Then he also had one of Big Bill Thompson. Thompson was Chicago's hard-drinking mayor, a man whose political machine was kept well-greased with graft from Capone and the other criminal empires. In this corridor outside his office, Capone had stationed his bodyguards and some of his other henchmen. While in the rooms on this...
I don't know why it's so funny, but the phrase well-greased just seems really weird to me.
Floor and those above and below lived Capone's torpedoes, his lieutenants, his drivers, his sluggers, his lookouts, as well as a large complement of the young prostitutes that Scarface favored for himself and the boys.
At the end of the hall is a bulletproof door with no outside handle.
Those were his friends, his family, his comrades, his buddies, his friends, and the young prostitutes that he preferred.
It led to another Al Capone mystery.
This disaster area on the third floor was apparently the big man's dining room, a place where he could eat safely with friends and associates. From what we hear, it was also quite the attraction for the show business crowd, drawn by the allure and mystery of the notorious gangster, such stars of the 1920s as Eddie Cantor, Sophie Tucker, and Charles Buddy Rogers were often invited by. A suave, handsome band leader, Buddy Rogers was also a famous leading man, the star of Wings, the first Academy Award-winning movie. Buddy was married to America's sweetheart, the late Mary Pickford.
Oh, Mary Pickford, what a great movie star.
For 45 years. And he made news again just recently, when he won the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award at the Oscars. One aspect of your career, though, that people don't know much about is the fact that...
Look at this. Look how chic this dude's living, man. Wow, look at this nice sofa. All these nice adornments here.
One time you met the notorious Scarface Al Capone. He was my pal. Was he? Tell me how that happened.
Well, I was playing the Chicago Theater, in Chicago, of course, back in the 30s, mid-30s. And our manager was named Leo, motion picture Leo, of the theater. And he was in my dressing room, and I said, "Why do they call you motion picture Leo?" He says, "Because, buddy, I furnished motion pictures to the great Al Capone." I said, "What?" He said, "Would you like to meet him?"
Hey, why'd they call you, what was it? Motion picture whatever? Oh, because I showed him motion pictures, and Geraldo's like, for some reason, Geraldo thinks that's really funny.
Well, I said, "I read about it, headlines today in the paper, this morning's paper, of course I would." He goes to the phone, he dials a certain number. Hello? Big Chief? This is Motion Picture Leo. Got Buddy Rogers with me this week. He and his mother are here, appearing 5 times a day.
This guy's a bullshit artist. I don't trust this guy at all. He seems like such a put-on.
Tomorrow night, dinner for them. I'll have them there. Here I'm invited to, Mother and I are invited to dinner with Al Capone. Over the phone like that.
Is that right?
He sent 2 or 3 Cadillac 16s in the alley, the stage door of the Chicago Theater. And Mother and I, Motion Picture Leo, came out, got in these cars, and we drove 15 to 20 blocks. Oh, maybe a 22nd block.
Dude, shut up about Motion Picture Leo. I am up to it with fucking Motion Picture Leo. Drop it, dude.
Maybe. Big hotel, the south side of the town. And we got up, we went in the lobby, and I saw it was filled with men. The entire lobby, they were all reading newspapers. They drop and look, then they go back. They were henchmen, I didn't know it. We went to the elevator, we went to the 3rd or 4th floor. Motion Picture Leo gets out and walks over to a door and presses a button. Motion Picture Leo, I've got Mrs. Rogers and Buddy. The door opened, and I walked in, and I looked over there, and there was Al Capone. I noticed the room, there were a couple of men sitting there, and he said, oh, Mrs. Rogers and Buddy, I want you to meet Congressman so-and-so and Senator so-and-so. And he was also in politics, it looked like to me.
He certainly was.
He was charming with Mother. Couldn't have been nicer.
Not at all frightening to you?
Not at all. He says, Mother Rogers, don't believe all these newspaper articles. I'm not a killer. I don't want to hurt anyone, he said.
And no fear or intimidation?
No fear. He loved the movies. Says, hey, do you know Gary Cooper? I said, sure, we just made a film. Please have him come by. I love all you guys out in Hollywood. Please let me be a friend to all of you.
But you thought of him almost as a co-celebrity, didn't you, Buddy?
That's right.
Okay, nothing really new and exciting to report yet. We're still digging. No new spectacular finds yet. But stay with us. When we come back, we're going to visit Capone's secluded Miami mansion.
Fuck Motion Picture Leo. I'm sick of that guy. That was a great interview, though. That was such a weird tone interview to have in the middle of this thing.
And we're going to talk about an atrocity that came to be known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. After these commercial messages.
So Scarface headed for Miami.
Because of his notorious reputation, Al Capone could not find a second home. As you can imagine, no city in the country really wanted the guy. Finally, because of Florida's unique real estate laws, Capone's attorneys were able to buy this secluded mansion without revealing who the real purchaser was. By the time they found out, Scarface Al Capone was a legal Miami resident, the original Miami Vice.
The present owner of the Palm Island house is Hank Morrison, an airlines pilot.
Did you know it was the notorious Al Capone's place when you bought it?
No, I didn't. It was just, I needed a house, and it was for sale, and looked like a nice buy at the time.
How'd you react when you found out?
Well, I kind of enjoyed it.
How so?
Well, it's nice to live in a little bit of history.
It is history.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about that earlier, South to West. Like, it was leading up to it, it was like everybody was talking about it. Like, your local newspaper would have stuff, national magazines would have stuff. Like, it was a really big deal. Like, and I don't really feel like outside of, like, live sports that any TV really has that, like, feel now. I miss the big fight atmosphere.
How about tourists and tour buses and things like that? You get any of that?
Yeah, we get.
Like, this is just the guy who bought the house. He has no knowledge of anything else. He just purchased a home that used to belong to Al Capone, and Geraldo's interviewing him. Maybe they had just a shit ton of footage because they weren't sure how long it would take to get to it, or they had to like have enough footage to stretch it out in case they like were gonna finish too soon.
Get a few tour boats come by every day, a couple of them, and a few tourists ride by, but they're no big problem.
Describe the place.
We have the one guest house that we were up into. That was where you
Earl's like, fuck, I don't know. Describe the place.
used to keep the guards, and of course this is the main house. Many people think that Capone died in prison, but actually he didn't. He served almost 8 years, the last 6 years or so, in Alcatraz, and he served his full sentence, and then he came back here, and he lived here with his family, and he had I guess, a brain hemorrhage back in '47. He actually died back in the old master bedroom in the house. It's, like I say, a little bit of history, and it doesn't give me any problem.
Geraldo's like, can we perform a seance in that bedroom?
I haven't seen any ghost or anything.
In 1929, working out of his mansion in Miami, Al Capone allegedly masterminded one of the most infamous murders in American gangland history, an atrocity that came to be known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. There used to be a single-story red brick garage and warehouse on this site back then, known as the SMC Cartage Company. The building was often used for bootleg booze deliveries by Capone's principal rival, Bugs Moran. Moran had succeeded Dion O'Banion and Jaime Weiss as leader of the Northside Irish Gang. The illegal booze trucks used to come right in that alley. As you know, Scarface Al had already eliminated O'Banion and Weiss. Now he set his sights on Bugs Moran. Early on the morning of February 14th, St. Valentine's Day, a police squad car pulled up on Clark Street across from the warehouse. Inside were 4 men, 2 in plain clothes, 2 wearing police officers' uniforms. They left their car, walked across the street, and entered the warehouse, where 7 of Bugs Moran's men were waiting for an illegal liquor delivery. Bugs was supposed to be there, but arriving late, he saw what looked like police officers entering his building. Wisely, he decided to stay down the block, watching, waiting, listening. Well, he didn't have long to wait.
I was thinking that whenever he said like bootleg booze, like he's definitely doing like that 80s 90s news speak way of talking. It's very it's very strange.
When the extent of the bloody massacre became known, Bugs Moran was even motivated to break the underworld's rigid code of silence. He said, quote, "Only Al Capone kills like that."
These historic photographs of the massacre were taken by Tony Berardi. He was one of the first photographers on the scene that fateful day.
How did you feel when you walked in and you saw something like that, Tony? It's an incredible, gory scene.
It didn't bother me a bit. What the hell, it didn't hurt me. And I covered...
This guy is a gold mine. How did you feel about this? And he's like, hey, it wasn't me.
We got photographed. I've had photographed so many people killed, found in ditches and whatever. You become hardened to it. To me, it was a job. To me, it was to get in there and make some 4 or 5 fast pictures and get the hell out of there.
Did you think Capone did it?
Did I think that Capone?
Like, this is so great. Again, I sound like a boomer, but I just feel like we don't get brutally honest interviews like this in the news very often.
Did he have something to do with it? Yeah, yes, I do. But Capone, we learned the next day or 2 days later that he was down in Florida at his home. As a matter of fact, there was a Chicago Tribune photographer by the name of Louis Wolfe made a picture of Al Capone on his boat with the American flag flying. No, I have a definite idea who did it.
Tell me.
Well, Jack McGurn was one. Jack McGurn and Ralph Pierce.
Well, this guy just crossed the line. Let's hope he didn't get greenlit.
They were the only 2 gangsters that Capone had that could have done a thing like this.
So you have no doubt in your mind, Tony, but that this guy, Machine Gun Jack McGurn, was the architect or the main gunner in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre?
No doubt.
You know, Louise Ralph, the so-called blonde alibi, swears to this day that Jack had nothing to do with it.
What an amazing nickname, the blonde alibi. Fantastic.
I don't care what she said.
They tried to say that he was in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Oh, no way. Here she is like all those years later. That's so cool.
And that's when I got all the notoriety, because even though I wasn't married to him, I swore up and down he was in the Hotel Stevens with me at the time, which he was. I know I said what a horrible thing it was, and it wasn't long after that they came knocking on the door.
Who was they?
The police.
What did they say to your husband?
Just come with me.
They started questioning him then?
Not in the room, no. They questioned me, and I told them it was impossible. He could not have been there.
And why not?
Because he was there with me.
Was it his custom to spend most nights at home?
Oh, yes, huh?
And he was definitely with you then?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, gun malls. Yeah.
So the blonde...
Which, as an archetype, is, like, super hot, I think.
Alibi is the truth.
The truth.
So help you God.
So help me.
Man, she seemed like it. She stood up to the cops. She wouldn't. She protected her man, and they weren't even married.
It was right hand. Pardon me.
Machine Gun Jack McGurn. Whether or not he did it will never be known. He was murdered exactly 7 years later, on February 13th, 1936, the day before Valentine's Day.
Left behind, right beside Jake McGurn's bullet-riddled body was a mocking St. Valentine's Day card. The cops kept it. Quote, "You've lost your job, you've lost your dough, your jewels and handsome houses, but things could be worse, you know. You haven't lost your trousers." So nobody could accuse these...
I mean, it's like, what? This was made in the 80s, so 50 years later... And she's still like, no, this guy's like, I guarantee you that it was this dude. And she's like, nope, he was with me. Like, even decades and decades later.
racket guys of not having a macabre sense of humor. Now, when we come back, aside from updating you on the digging that continues even as I...
Dalmatian Dog is looking for a woman like what was her name? Louise Rolfe? Oh, you know, Grace, why can't you be a real woman like Louise Rolfe? She wouldn't leak her man's DMs.
Speak. We're going to show you a little reported side of Scarface Al. It's Al Capone, the humanitarian. I know it doesn't sound right, but that's after these commercial messages, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults will continue after these messages.
Al Capone may have been a murdering
That was a cheesy ass walk up. King TL got the best walk up.
Animal, but he was also a cunning businessman, one acutely aware of the need for good public relations. So despite his millions, for years he lived in this relatively modest home on the south side of town.
Wow.
Beard said he was sincerely interested in the health and well-being.
Is that this is a modest home? Wow. Holy cow.
Of his sickly young son. He was also involved in the welfare of this community.
Why is he dressed like a Burger King manager? Contrast with how quickly Grace flipped on Ben. Oh, I don't know about that. She stuck to her guns. I love when that cop yells at her, like, thanks for lying, but we got him.
He was the kind of guy, for example, who often gave Apple vendors $10 tip.
And I posted the clip on YouTube. Well, it's one of the times he does it, but he goes into a big rant about that. Ben goes into a big rant on the one where it's like Ben Thorpe is fired up about feminism. He gives a really good rant against the Sturbridge police.
He bought blocks of baseball tickets for entire Boy Scout troops, and he lobbied successfully for a milk dating ordinance to ensure that Chicago's kids would never be forced to drink spoiled milk.
Public enemy number one also contributed money to build this school, called St. Attractus, and he often played Santa at his neighborhood church during Christmas time. By 1929, the effects of the Great Depression were painfully visible throughout Chicago. Tens of thousands were unemployed and many were going hungry. Al Capone had problems of his own. The Depression cut deeply into his income. Elliot Ness had stepped up his devastating brewery raids, and Frank Wilson's tax fraud team was becoming an annoying threat. Eager to improve his public image, Capone proclaimed to the press that he wasn't a criminal, just a humble supplier of the booze everybody wanted. He also set up soup kitchens to feed Chicago's poor and hungry.
I wasn't for our friend Al Capone rotten up in this here White House on 935 South State Street, where he wasn't eat.
Did he have an almost Robin Hood image?
I believe it was a public relations gimmick.
I think I started watching Boardwalk Empire, and then I think I got distracted by something that I never went back. I need to finish it, though. It looked really good.
But he would go through the poor areas and pat little Italian kids on the head and pass out money. He just, I think he consciously cultivated that particular thing.
But image aside, Scarface Al was a brutal man.
Oh, these two...
I don't think that was a really flattering photo of him.
Well, that's Selmy and Scalise. They were two tough characters. Well, they were really the enforcers, Al Capone's enforcers. Because I have two pictures here. This is the before, and here's the after.
Oh, here they are.
There was a rumor going around that they were going to get rid of Al Capone and they were going to take over.
Maybe that's why they ended up on the slab here.
And now
oh, yeah, that's right. These are the guys Al Capone beat to death.
With a baseball bat.
All things considered, Scarface Al Capone was probably one of the most charming and generous mass murderers of his time.
This is exactly like, I think what Stephen David was talking about earlier with like his cadence on his voice. It's really, I feel like that's really heavy in this segment.
Okay, we're still digging. Nothing to write home about yet. But we've still got 23 minutes. Who knows? When we come back from this next commercial, we're going to tell you the exciting, some might say melancholy story of the decline and fall of Scarface Al Capone. And of course, we'll tell you what's happening in the vault after these commercial messages.
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults will continue.
By 1930, violent death had become almost a way of life here in Chicago. There had been so many mob murders, they no longer attracted much attention from either the public or the press. But on June 9th of that year, 1930...
We can watch that at the end of this. That's only like a super short.
Murder committed right here near the public library infuriated the city and recaptured page 1. At the time it happened, it was the 11th murder in 10 days in Chicago. But this one was different. This time the victim was not just another mobster. In fact, it was Jake Lingle, ace crime reporter for the Chicago Tribune. Early that fatal afternoon, Lingle took some time off to go to the racetrack. He left his offices in the Tribune 2 blocks away and walked to this very newsstand, where he bought a copy of the Daily Racing Form. Scanning the paper and lighting up a cigar, he walked into this pedestrian tunnel. It's right under Michigan Avenue. The steps were crowded then as they are today, so Jake Lingle apparently didn't see or sense the approach of a tall blonde guy, shoving people aside as he came up fast from behind. As the reporter walked down this ramp on his way to the subway, the tall blonde guy caught up, took a pistol from his pocket, and put a single bullet through Jake Lingle's brain. The Daily Racing Form didn't give him any luck that day. Still clutching the paper in his hand, the smoking cigar still clenched in his teeth, Jake Lingle fell dead right here. The reaction to the crime was immediate. The public was outraged and the press declared war on the mob. Instead of killing one of their own, they had murdered an innocent civilian. Now, as things turned out, the reporter wasn't all that innocent.
I gotta be honest, I love how active all of his, like, exposition segments are when he's on film. I just think it makes it so much more interesting and dynamic, and it's also, like, adds, like, this, like, B-movie quality.
In fact, he was a corrupt, highly paid liaison between Capone and the cops. But that fact came out later, when it did nothing to diminish Chicago's newfound determination to put an end to mobster violence. Like Jake Lingle, Al Capone was reaching the end of the line.
For the first time in his career, the long arm of the law was making Al Capone nervous. The heat was on. In the summer of 1930, his brother Ralph was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The crime, income tax evasion. In a phony dentist office on the second floor of this building across the street from the Lexington, Capone's trusted accountant kept his secret books. His name was Jake Greasy Thumb Guzik, and he was the next gang member to be indicted for income tax evasion.
Greasy Thumb?
Frank Nitti, Capone's brutal enforcer, was also indicted on that same charge. And in the summer of 1931, Al Capone himself was charged with more than 20 counts of income tax evasion. In October of that year, he arrived at the Chicago Federal Court building to stand trial, brought there not by Elliot Ness, but by Frank Wilson. After years of careful examination of nearly 2 million documents, the work of Frank Wilson and his U.S. Treasury Department tax team was about to pay off. On October 24th, 1931, Al Capone was found guilty of deliberately evading the payment of federal income tax.
Now, ain't that a laugh? A man gets a drop on Capone, and Capone doesn't even know what he looks like. Hey, this is the bull that finally brought me in on the income tax rap.
On a chilly night in May of 1932, Al Capone boarded the train that would take him to the Atlanta Penitentiary in Georgia. His violent career as the ruler of Chicago's underworld had finally and unceremoniously ended. For nearly 2 years, though, in Atlanta's federal penitentiary, Capone lived in relative comfort. As a famous gangland potentate, he commanded a certain respect. With his ample supplies of cash, he also bought privileges and favors. In the summer of 1934, though, that all came to an end, when Capone joined 52 of Atlanta's most dangerous and hardened prisoners on a special heavily...
He just got like a... The guy just kind of chucked the chair up in the air, and it kind of... I don't know if it caught him flush. It's hard to tell on the camera. It doesn't look like it, though, based on his nose damage. It just looks like it kind of glanced him. I mean, I'm sure it hurt and fucked his nose up, but...
guarded prison train. Its destination, Alcatraz. Authorities were so worried about an attempt to spring Capone that the prisoners never left the closely guarded cars. They were rolled onto a barge and towed to Alcatraz Island. When Al Capone first set foot on this 12-acre rock right in the middle of San Francisco Bay, he must have felt a sense of foreboding. He was, of course, no stranger to prison walls, but this place, Alcatraz, was frighteningly different. It was converted from an aging military jail.
Like, why did he turn around? That's so... I mean, it's so, like, 80s, but it's super entertaining, but it's just so corny.
Into a medieval maximum security prison. Harsh, disciplined, escape-proof. And the notorious Scarface Al Capone would be one of its first official residents. The principle of rehabilitation did not apply in Alcatraz. The rock was designed for punishment and
hardly what I'd call an island getaway.
For total isolation from the mainland, just a mile and a half away. And the rock's boast that it was escape-proof was well-founded. The island is surrounded by barbed wire, sewer outlets, and utility tunnels which open to the water were...
This dude's going to give us a walking tour of the entire facility.
Blocked. And then there's the swift, cold currents of San Francisco Bay. A formidable natural barrier that did as much as the walls to keep people in. From 6 towers, every...
Hey, don't forget one time they made Roddy Piper spend the night in Alcatraz for some WCW weird match stipulation.
Every square foot of the island could be watched, and each tower was equipped with high-powered rifles. No one would get off the rock. When Warden James A. Johnson called, his infamous name, Capone, was led through the 3 steel doors that secured the cell house reception area.
Name? You. What's your name?
You know my name. Everybody knows my name.
Well, then you ought to know it, too.
Capone.
First name?
Alphonse.
Number 85. Next.
Capone was then led to the bathhouse, where he was strip-searched and medically examined. There, he traded in his trademark hat and overcoat.
Remember when Ben did the VC and he talked about when he got the jail intake and the men looked inside his anus?
For his gray denim prison uniform. Suddenly, he was no longer Lord of Chicago. He was simply prisoner number 85. Al Capone was led to his second-story cell. A space 9 by 5 by 7. It was probably smaller than his closet in the Lexington Hotel. It would be Al Capone's home for almost the next 5 years. At 6:30 every morning, a bell would signal the beginning of Al Capone's day. Then, like every other con in this place, he had approximately 20 minutes to dress and shave. If he wanted to shave, the procedure was approximately this. He would put an empty matchbox right here. A guard coming by would put...
They're like, oh shit, Geraldo, we're having trouble blowing up the next wall. Can you describe in detail how Al Capone shaved?
A razor blade inside. Capone and the other prisoners would then have 3 minutes to complete their shave, at which time the guard would pick up the razor blade. A second bell would then signal the beginning of the daily prisoner count, followed closely by a third bell, calling the men to breakfast. One February morning in 1938, Capone walked out of his cell seemingly in a daze. He walked aimlessly and mechanically down this corridor. He was wearing his Sunday uniform instead of his appropriate workday clothes, and he even failed to fall into line when ordered. The man was completely confused. Here in the medical ward, the prison doctor noted that Capone's speech was thick and slurred. That, along with his other symptoms, suggested central nervous system damage, characteristic of an advanced case of...
I'm starting to get the feeling that Geraldo doesn't really like Al Capone. Yeah, shave in 3 minutes.
Syphilis, and indeed that was the case. You see, 10 years earlier, in the Lexington Hotel, Capone's 18-year-old mistress was diagnosed as having the disease. At that time, Scarface was urged to be tested, but because of his pathological fear of needles, he refused. Well, a decade later, that refusal had come back to haunt him.
What I know about Capone, he didn't have to show it.
Syphilis.
How many years did you work here?
To be exact, 29. I was here right after they opened it, in October the 27th, 1934.
So you were here when Al Capone got here?
I was here when he got...
Geraldo was like, hey, can you light this scene so that it looks like we're standing at a nuclear blast site?
Got here.
Describe Capone's arrival here at Alcatraz.
Say he came over on the barge with several other inmates, marched up the hill here, went into the clothing room, was given a change of clothes, given a bath, given a cell. That's all there was to it. His irons were removed. That was it.
So they were marched up here in irons?
In irons, oh, absolutely. Leg irons and cuffs.
Was he a big talker?
No, I don't think so. He was kind of quiet.
So the king of the Chicago underworld came to Alcatraz, just became another number.
That's right. The mighty Capone was not a mighty Capone around here. He was just another inmate.
He would spend the rest of his sentence in the prison's hospital, gradually deteriorating until he had become a pathetic shell of his former self. Finally, on January 6, 1939,
come on, this is turning into a roast.
Not quite 5 years after arriving here, Capone walked down this dock to the boat that would take him off the island. What was left of Scarface Al Capone was going home.
In 1940, Al Capone returned to his home on Palm Island after serving his prison sentence. The progressive effects of neurosyphilis now ravaged his body. And one of his oldest and most loyal associates described Capone to the press as being nutty as a fruitcake. During much of that period, Emery Zurich worked here as a...
Walks like this. They described him as nutty as a fruitcake.
Security guard.
What was your basic job? Mostly to keep away and the reporters. There used to be hundreds of reporters here at one time. And keep riders and anybody who wanted to, sightseers, keep them moving.
Did you have a lot of people trying to get in?
Oh, always, always. That was the biggest headache with the job.
What kind of shape was Al in?
Very bad. He was practically bedridden. Every once in a while, they'd take him out to the dock over here, and he'd do some fishing. The male nurse would push him out there in a wheelchair. He'd always have a bathrobe on.
Right.
Stay out there, depending on the weather. It was brisk, they'd move him in. If not, he'd just stay out there.
Any of the racket guys come by to visit him?
Oh, loads and loads and loads of them.
Like who?
It's Tony Accardo and Charlie Frichetti's. Got quite a few that I don't remember offhand right now.
How about his brother Ralph?
Ralph was here all the time. Ralph was the supervisor.
Why'd you take the job with such a notorious guy?
Well, at that time, the police department used to just operate mainly in the winter at full strength. In the summer, they'd lay off everybody. You got to remember, this was just a little town in those days. So, chief of police asked...
This guy I can't really understand hardly anything he's saying.
Asked me if I wanted an extra job. I volunteered. He said, get a uniform and see Ralph Capone. So I got that, and that was the assignment.
So was Capone treated with respect?
Yeah. Everybody treated him with respect in the household staff here. The nurses and everybody else. But he was a very sick man. Very thin and very sick. Died quietly? Yeah, it was one evening he just died. They just got the word downstairs that he had passed away. So that was it.
On the evening of January 25th, 1947, his body and brain destroyed by syphilis, the man who would be king of the Chicago underworld passed away at his mansion in Miami. Al Capone was just 48 years old. His body is buried here at the Mount Carmel Cemetery just outside Chicago, where it rejoins what's left of Dion O'Banion, Jaime Weiss, Diamond Joe Esposito, and many, many others Scarface Al sent here before him. Unlike the other gang leaders, Capone was buried without fanfare. His wife, May, and a few friends were the only mourners present. He had no official pallbearers. His casket was carried to the gravesite by the same men who dug his grave.
I don't quite know how to tell you this at 8 minutes to the hour, but we found another wall in there. I wonder if I can get a deposit on a 60-year-old bottle. All right. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. We'll see what we got here.
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults will continue after these messages.
Okay, go! Good. Hold it. Kill it. All right, come here, guys. Come here. Hey, Lee! Get out of that thing. Come over here. Everybody, come here. All right. You know, when we began opening this vault nearly 2 hours ago, we had no real idea what we'd find inside. As it turns out, we haven't found very much, at least not yet. In any case, I think that, kill the entrance here, Richard. A legend a half-century old or so has been resolved. I don't know if we've gone far enough. I mean, we found the other wall over there. There may be more to be discovered, maybe not. We found the secret tunnel. We found the hidden stairways. We found the other private spaces. We talked to a lot of people, you know, older people whose memories I think would have otherwise been forever lost if it wasn't.
This all, I don't know about you guys, but this sounds like a whole lot of cope to me.
For this program, it seems, at least up to now, that we've struck out with the vault. I'm disappointed about that, as I'm sure you are. This is one time in my life that pot of gold would have been a lot more fun than chasing the rainbows. In any case, you get a wide shot. Show my team here. They work their hearts out. You know, come on there, guys. All right, you know, all right, duck down. I got outside class picture. All right, now, I hope you've enjoyed the adventure of the chase. You know, to briefly review, we found some bottles. We found some other artifacts. The tunnels, or rather the vaulted space, did date back to the time of Scarface Al Capone. But I don't know, our seismic or sonic tests.
It's amazing to me that this ever happened. Why on earth would you do a live program where you didn't know whether or not you could actually deliver what you promise? Like, now they would just go directly to the vault beforehand. You wouldn't like, it's just such a strange decision.
Must have been slightly awry because we didn't find the much heralded hollow spaces that we were led to believe were in there. So what can I say? I'm sorry. I would thank my buddies here for doing the job. Thank you for watching. I promised all the critics that if we didn't find anything, I'd sing a song. So Chicago, that toddling town. All right, I'm going. I'll see you. Good night. I'm sorry. See you next time.
Cope. Huge cope. Constant coping here by Geraldo.
Take it easy. On State Street, that great street, I just want to sing.
The mystery of Al Capone's vaults has been brought to you by Budweiser, each wood-aged for that
Budweiser got fucked on this deal. Holy cow.
clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the good products and good people at the Quaker Oats Company.
Geraldo's like, well, that sucked. Thanks for the money, dummies. I'm going home.
Accommodations by Hyatt Regency, Chicago. overlooking the beautiful lakefront on the Magnificent Mile, near convenient shopping and sightseeing. Air transportation by Jet America, the airline that...
This is a super short clip.
And fake.
This is when John Stossel asked Dr. D. David Schultz, who, if you watched the Morton Downey episode, he was one of the bounty hunters on that episode. But John Stossel asks him if wrestling is real or not.
Violence in the wrestling ring led to this real-life brutality.
I think this is fake. You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? You come. Huh? What do you mean? Fake.
The wrestling ring led to this real-life brutality.
I think this is fake. You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? You come.
Oh, man. One more time.
This real-life brutality.
I think this is fake. You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? You come. Huh? What do you mean? Fake.
Holy cow, man. That was nuts. I've seen it a million times, but that second slap is so strong. Like, holy shit. Wow. Well, a classic Geraldo episode earlier. Classic Geraldo fail. We got to see that ridiculous interview. And then we'll close it out with some, protect the business. Vince said that it was agreed to with John Stossel. No way. No, John Stossel looked like he had got run over by a truck. Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'm going to go. Thanks for hanging out and watching this random old shock news content with me. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm still debating what I want to do. I kind of want to do the I kind of want to go back to the original OPC Don visit, because it's been a while since I've watched those, and I want to really get caught up on where OPC is. But I'll figure something out. But I'll definitely be here in the morning. I'll schedule the stream so you can see what the topic is. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you soon.